Queen Sci-Fi sat alone on her crystal throne, her golden skin shining faintly in the quiet light of the royal chamber. The room was once full of laughter, songs, and the sweet voices of her people, but now it was cold and silent. Her heart was heavy, and every breath felt like a struggle. She could still remember the day she lost her only child, Prince Caro. The war with humans had changed everything. Once, the Urutheri had thought themselves powerful, wise, and safe in their beautiful world among the stars. But then the humans came, unexpected, clever, and desperate. They fought not for land, but for survival. Queen Sci-Fi had watched as battle after battle turned in the humans' favor, their strange machines outsmarting Urutheri defenses. She sent her best soldiers, her bravest captains, and even her own son, Caro, to the front lines. Caro was just 16 cycles old, but he was strong, curious, and kind. He had the eyes of his father, and a gentle touch that could calm any beast. The people loved him. Xylaris had trusted him to lead, hoping his wisdom would bring peace, but the war did not care for hope. News of the final battle came in whispers. The human army had broken through the last shield near the city of Loria. Urutheri ships burned in the sky. On that day, a messenger arrived, face pale and trembling. He told her that Caro's squad was lost, crushed by falling buildings and enemy fire. No bodies were found. Only the prince's crest was discovered, broken in the rubble. From that moment, the queen's world lost its color. She tried to stay strong for her people, but inside, she was falling apart. The palace staff would hear her cry at night, her voice echoing down the halls. She wore her son's necklace every day and placed his favorite toys in the garden, hoping for a miracle. Every morning, she stood on her balcony, staring at the horizon, wishing to see Caro's small silver ship returning home. But it never came. The war ended soon after, with a shaky peace treaty. Humans and Urutheri agreed to stop fighting, but the cost was too great. Both sides lost family, friends, and trust. The people blamed the queen, whispering that her grief made her weak. Advisors pushed her to move on, but how could a mother forget her child? Queen Sci-Fi felt alone. Only memories remained of Caro's laughter, his gentle hands, and the promise he made. "I'll come home, mother. I promise." But promises meant little to war. As she sat in the empty throne room, Queen Sci-Fi made a silent vow. If there was even the smallest chance her son was alive, she would never stop hoping. But hope, she knew, could be the hardest thing to keep. Captain Marcus Hale walked through the broken streets of New Geneva, the wind cold against his face. The city, once full of life, was now silent. Buildings stood half destroyed, and the smell of smoke still hung in the air. Everywhere he looked, Marcus saw reminders of the war: crushed vehicles, scattered belongings, and the strange green marks left by Urutheri weapons. Marcus had fought in the war from the very first battle. He had lost friends, seen people cry for loved ones, and felt fear many times. Now the fighting was over, but peace did not feel real. Soldiers like Marcus were given new jobs, helping to clean up the cities and find survivors. But in his heart, Marcus still carried guilt. He wondered if the humans had done the right thing by fighting, even if it was to survive. One cold morning, Marcus and his small team were searching a ruined part of the city. They checked old buildings for traps and made sure no one was trapped inside. Most days, they found only silence and empty rooms. But that day, something was different. As Marcus moved through an old hospital, his flashlight shined on a heavy metal door, half covered by fallen bricks. The door had strange markings, lines and circles that he remembered from the battlefield. They were Urutheri symbols. "Over here," Marcus called to his team. They worked together to clear the debris, their hands moving fast with excitement and fear. When the door finally opened, a wave of cold air rushed out. Inside was a small, hidden room. In the middle of the room was a metal pod, shaped like an egg. Lights blinked weakly along its side. Marcus stepped closer and wiped away the dust. Through the glass, he saw the face of a young alien, no older than a child. The alien's skin was pale gold, and his breathing was slow but steady. The team stared in shock. "Is he alive?" whispered one of the soldiers. Marcus checked the pod's controls. The writing was alien, but some symbols were clear. The child was alive, but weak. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. This was not just any Eurutheri child. He remembered the news stories. The Queen's son, Prince Caro, had gone missing in the last battle. Marcus knew right away what this meant. If the Eurutheri learned their prince was alive, it could change everything. There could be peace, or a new war, if the news was handled wrong. He felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. "We have to keep him safe," Marcus said quietly. "No one can know about this." "Not yet." The team nodded, trusting their captain. Marcus carefully picked up the pod. As they left the ruined hospital, he glanced once more at the silent city. For the first time in a long while, Marcus felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this child could be the key to a better future. Marcus hid the alien pod in an old supply room deep inside the human military base. He checked the hallway, making sure no one was watching. Then, closing the door softly behind him, he stared at the strange egg-shaped pod. The alien child inside was still sleeping, his golden skin shining under the soft blue light. Marcus sat down, running his hands through his messy hair. He knew the risk he was taking. If anyone found out, there would be questions, hard questions. Some people on Earth hated the Eurutheri and blamed them for the war. Others, tired of fighting, just wanted peace. But the child in the pod was not just any alien. He was the lost prince. The news had spread everywhere during the war. Prince Caro, the only son of the alien queen, was believed to be dead. Some said his death made the queen weak, helping end the war. Now Marcus had found him alive. "What should I do?" Marcus whispered to himself. He looked at the control panel on the pod. The symbols were different from any human writing, but a few had small pictures. Marcus pressed one carefully. The glass became clearer, and Caro's face showed up even more. He looked peaceful, but there was a cut on his cheek, and he seemed too thin. Marcus felt a strong need to protect the boy. He took out his small communicator and thought about calling his commanders. But then he stopped. He could not trust everyone. Some generals wanted revenge, not peace. If they learned about Caro, they might use the prince as a weapon, or worse, hurt him. Marcus had seen enough of war to know that leaders sometimes made bad choices. He needed help, but who? Then he remembered Dr. Ling Tran, a kind doctor who had helped alien prisoners during the war. She was brave and honest. Marcus decided to trust her. Late at night, Marcus met Dr. Tran in her small office. He showed her the pod, and at first she was afraid. But when she saw the sleeping child, her fear turned into worry and curiosity. "We must help him," Dr. Tran said, her voice gentle. "He's just a boy, Marcus. War or no war, he deserves a chance." Together, they checked the pod's medical systems. Dr. Tran found that Caro was weak but alive. His body was trying to heal, but he needed real care and time to wake up. Marcus felt better with Dr. Tran on his side, but he knew things would only get harder. If the secret got out, both humans and Eurutheri might come after them. That night, Marcus watched over Caro, thinking about the choice he had made. He hoped it was the right one. Outside, the world was quiet, but inside the supply room, hope had started to grow. For Marcus, Dr. Tran, and the sleeping prince, a new story was just beginning. Dr. Ling Tran worked carefully, her hands moving gently over the strange controls of the alien pod. Marcus stood beside her, watching every step. He was worried. Caro looked so small and weak inside the glass shell. The blue light around the prince flickered, showing that the pod was running out of power. "We need to get him out of there," Dr. Tran said softly. "The pod can't keep him alive much longer." Marcus nodded. He trusted Dr. Tran. She was not just a good doctor, she was also kind. During the war, she had saved many lives, human and alien. He knew she would do everything she could for the prince. With a careful hand, Dr. Tran pressed a button. The pod hissed and opened slowly. Cold air escaped as the lid lifted. Marcus reached inside and gently lifted Cairo out. The boy was light and shivered in his arms. His golden skin felt warm, but he looked tired and scared. They moved Cairo to a soft bed in Dr. Tran's office. She wrapped him in blankets and placed small monitors on his arms. Marcus watched as the doctor cleaned the cut on Cairo's cheek and checked his heartbeat. The alien boy did not wake up, but his breathing grew stronger and his color looked better. "He's healing," Dr. Tran said with a smile. "He just needs time and care." Over the next few days, Dr. Tran and Marcus took turns watching over Cairo. They fed him special medicine and gave him water through a small tube. Marcus even brought him some sweet bread, hoping the smell might help him wake up. Every day, Cairo's body grew a little stronger. One night, Marcus sat by Cairo's bed, reading from an old book. Suddenly, he heard a weak voice. "Where am I?" Marcus looked up and saw Cairo's eyes open. They were a deep green, full of fear and confusion. Marcus spoke softly. "You're safe. My name is Marcus. You were hurt, but we helped you." Cairo tried to sit up, but he was too weak. He stared at Marcus, not sure if he could trust him. Dr. Tran came in and smiled at the boy. "You are safe here," she said gently. "We just want to help." Slowly, Cairo relaxed. He watched the humans with tired eyes. He did not speak much, but he listened. He let Dr. Tran check his wounds and drank the water she offered. He even smiled a little when Marcus told a joke about Earth animals. As the days passed, Cairo began to trust them more. He learned a few words in English and taught Marcus a few words in his own language. Marcus noticed that Cairo sometimes closed his eyes and things in the room would move by themselves, small things, like a cup or a pen. Dr. Tran realized the prince had special psychic powers, just like the story said. Marcus and Dr. Tran promised to keep Cairo's secret safe. They both knew that soon they would have to decide what to do next. For now, though, the healing had begun, and hope was growing stronger each day. Days passed, and Cairo grew stronger. He could sit up now, and sometimes he even walked around Dr. Tran's small office. Marcus taught him simple English words, and Cairo learned quickly, laughing at Marcus's strange accent when he tried to say Uruthari phrases. There were moments of happiness, but a shadow of worry always hung over Marcus and Dr. Tran. They knew they were hiding a big secret, a secret that could bring trouble. One rainy evening, Marcus returned to the base after buying food. As he walked through the gate, he noticed two strangers talking to the guards. They wore long coats, and their faces were hidden. The taller one showed a shiny badge. Marcus felt a cold chill. He knew that badge. It belonged to the special military police, people who answered only to the top generals. That night, Marcus spoke in a whisper to Dr. Tran. "We're not safe. Someone is looking for something, or someone." Dr. Tran's face turned pale. She agreed that they needed to be more careful. The next day, the two strangers came to Dr. Tran's office, asking questions. They said they were searching for dangerous alien technology. Their eyes scanned the room, pausing at every small detail. Cairo was hiding in a closet, barely breathing. Marcus answered every question calmly, but his heart was pounding. After the men left, Dr. Tran locked the door and closed the window blinds. She looked at Marcus. "We can't stay here. It's too risky. They'll come back." That evening, Marcus watched news on a small screen. He saw a short report. Rumors say the missing Uruthari prince may be alive. Some groups want to find him for their own plans. The news showed a picture of Cairo from before the war, younger but clearly the same boy. Marcus's worry grew. If the wrong people found Cairo, they might use him to start another war. Or worse, They might try to hurt him to keep the peace fragile. Suddenly, Dr. Tran's communicator beeped with a hidden message. Warning: someone is searching for the prince. Not just humans, some Urutheri groups too. Trust no one. Marcus and Dr. Tran looked at each other. It was clear they had to leave the base. Staying meant danger for all of them, especially Caro. That night, under the cover of darkness, Marcus, Dr. Tran, and Caro slipped quietly out of the base. Marcus carried a small bag of food, and Dr. Tran held Caro's hand. The city was dark and wet, and shadows followed them at every corner. Caro looked up at Marcus, fear in his eyes. Marcus squeezed his shoulder gently. Don't worry. I promise to protect you. I won't let anyone hurt you. As they disappeared into the night, none of them knew what dangers lay ahead. But they all understood one thing. Enemies were close, and only trust and courage could keep them safe now. The night air was cold and damp as Marcus, Dr. Ling Tran, and Caro moved quietly through the empty streets. They kept to the shadows, avoiding patrols and cameras. The city behind them was silent, but danger was close. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He had promised to keep Caro safe, no matter what. Caro held tightly to Dr. Tran's hand, still weak but determined. He looked around with wide eyes, curious but scared. This was his first time outside the base since he woke up, and the world felt strange and new. He listened carefully when Marcus spoke, trying to understand the strange new language. Their goal was clear: reach the Urutheri capital, a place far beyond Earth, where Caro could be safe with his people. But the journey would be long and dangerous. Borders between human territories were tightly guarded, and the Urutheri did not fully trust humans after the war. Marcus knew they had to be careful. They traveled by night, resting during the day in hidden places. Marcus used his soldier skills to find safe paths and avoid patrols. Dr. Tran kept Caro's spirits up, telling stories about stars and planets far away. Slowly, Caro's strength returned. One evening, as they neared the border station, Marcus felt a sharp tension. The checkpoint was guarded by armed soldiers and scanning machines that could detect even the smallest sign of alien life. Marcus explained the plan quietly. "We'll use the old supply tunnels," he said. "They run under the border. No one patrols there." Caro looked worried, but nodded. Dr. Tran checked his medical kit one last time. They moved toward a hidden entrance near an abandoned warehouse. The tunnels were dark, cold, and full of strange sounds. Water dripped from the ceiling, and the ground was slippery. Caro's small feet made soft echoes. Marcus held a flashlight, shining ahead. The narrow walls closed in around them. Suddenly, they heard voices and footsteps coming from above. Marcus held up his hand. Everyone stopped. Caro's heart pounded. "They're close," Marcus whispered. The group pressed themselves into a small side chamber. From the shadows, Marcus saw armed guards walking near the tunnel entrance. "Keep quiet," Marcus warned. Time passed slowly. The guards left, and the tunnel grew silent again. They moved carefully forward, closer to the other side. Finally, after hours underground, they saw a small light ahead. The tunnel ended at a hidden door. Marcus opened it slowly, and they stepped out into a quiet forest. The fresh air felt like freedom. Caro looked up at the stars. For the first time in a long while, he smiled. "Thank you," he whispered to Marcus and Dr. Tran. Marcus smiled back. "We still have a long way to go, but we're safe for now." They began walking toward the distant lights of the Urutheri capital, hoping to find friends and safety. But even in the quiet forest, danger was never far behind. The enemies who wanted Caro would not give up easily. The forest around them was thick and dark, but Marcus, Dr. Ling Tran, and Caro moved carefully. The stars above shone bright, but the shadows around them seemed alive with danger. Marcus kept a hand near his weapon, ready for anything. Suddenly, a soft rustling came from the bushes. Marcus held his breath. Out stepped a group of tall aliens, Uruthera warriors, dressed in shining armor. Their sharp eyes watched the humans and Karo closely. The leader stepped forward, a woman with silver hair and strong presence. "Karo," she said softly, her voice full of surprise and hope. "Prince Karo, is that really you?" Karo looked up, unsure. The woman smiled gently. "I am Commander Sela, your mother's closest guard. We thought you were lost forever." Marcus stepped forward carefully. "We mean no harm. We brought Karo back because he belongs with his people. We want peace." Sela's eyes narrowed. "Humans are not our friends. But if you have the prince, you hold great power." Dr. Tran spoke up calmly. "Karo was hurt. We helped him because he is a child, not a weapon." Sela studied Marcus and Dr. Tran for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Very well. We will help you return to the capital. But you must trust us." Marcus felt relief mixed with caution. He knew the Urutheri were proud and strong. Trust would be difficult, but it was the only way. The group moved quickly through the forest. Sela and her warriors knew secret paths, avoiding patrols and dangers. Karo stayed close to Marcus and Dr. Tran, but he looked more relaxed. He smiled when Sela told stories of the palace and the stars. On the third day, the small group reached the edge of a high cliff. Below was the Urutheri capital, a shining city of towers and lights, floating above the clouds. The sight took their breath away. Sela turned to Marcus. "This is where the future begins. The queen waits for her son, but not all will be happy to see him." Marcus nodded. "We're ready. Karo deserves a chance." As they descended into the city, Marcus saw many eyes watching them. Some filled with hope, others with doubt or anger. The war had left deep scars. That night, Marcus sat with Karo and Sela in a quiet room. Karo's green eyes shone with a new light. "Mother will be happy." Sela smiled softly. "She will be, if you show her the peace you want." Marcus looked at Karo. The boy had changed, no longer just a scared child, but a symbol of hope for two worlds. Marcus realized their journey was only beginning. Outside, the city lights flickered, full of promise and danger. The alliance was fragile, but together, they might build a future. The grand halls of the Urutheri Palace were silent and cold when Marcus, Karo, Dr. Tran, and Commander Sela entered. The walls shimmered with ancient light, but the air felt heavy with grief and doubt. At the far end of the hall sat Queen Sci-Fi, her golden crown resting loosely on her head. Her eyes were tired and red from many sleepless nights. When Karo stepped forward, his heart pounded. This was the moment he had dreamed of but feared. The queen looked up slowly, her eyes filling with tears as she saw her son alive and well. For a moment, the room was still. Time seemed to stop. "Karo," the queen whispered, her voice shaking. "My son, you have returned." Karo fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Mother, I am here. I survived." Marcus and Dr. Tran stood behind him, watching quietly. They saw the deep love between mother and son, stronger than any war. But the moment was not without tension. The queen's advisors stood at the sides, their faces hard and doubtful. Some whispered that Karo's return could bring new trouble. The war had left scars, and not all trusted humans. Queen Sci-Fi looked at Marcus. "You brought my son back. Why?" Marcus bowed his head. "I found him alone and hurt. I promised to protect him. We want peace between our worlds." The queen's eyes searched Marcus's face. Slowly, she nodded. "Then you are more than a soldier. You carry hope." Days passed as Karo shared stories with his mother and learned about the changes on his homeworld. Queen Sci-Fi saw her son growing stronger and wiser. She felt hope returning to her heart. But peace was fragile. Some Urutheri generals whispered of revenge and war. They wanted to use Karo's survival to rebuild the army and strike back against humans. One night, A secret meeting took place. Queen Sci-Fi faced her council. "We must choose our path carefully," she said. "My son's life is a gift. We can fight again or build a new future." The queen's words echoed in the silent hall. The room was divided. Caro spoke with quiet strength. "Mother, I want peace. We cannot lose more lives." The queen looked at her son, and then at Marcus and Dr. Tran. She knew the choice was hers. In the days that followed, Queen Sci-Fi met with human leaders. Trust was hard to build, but the return of her son opened new doors. Old enemies watched carefully, waiting for a mistake. For the first time in years, the queen allowed herself to hope. Hope that her son's return was not just survival, but a new beginning for her people and for humanity. The grand hall was filled with tension. Human and Eurutheri leaders sat on opposite sides, their faces serious and full of doubt. Queen Sci-Fi stood in the center, her golden eyes shining with determination. Beside her, Prince Caro looked calm but ready. Marcus and Dr. Tran watched quietly from the side. The peace summit had started. It was the first meeting between the two worlds since the war ended. Both sides hoped for a new future, but many fears remained. Queen Sci-Fi spoke first. "My son was lost to war, but now he is here, alive. This is a chance for peace, not revenge." The human leader, General Hawk, nodded slowly. "We want peace too. The war has cost many lives, too many." But not everyone agreed. From the shadows, a rogue human general named Voss watched carefully. He wanted war to continue. He believed humans must stay strong and never trust the Eurutheri. Suddenly, the doors opened. Soldiers rushed in, announcing Voss's plan to capture Caro and use him as a weapon. The room filled with shock and fear. Queen Sci-Fi raised her hand, demanding silence. "Enough. This is not the way." Caro stood tall. "I do not want to be a weapon. I want peace, for my people and for yours." Marcus stepped forward. "We all have a choice. We can keep fighting, or we can build a better future together." The leaders looked at each other, the weight of their decisions heavy on their shoulders. After hours of tense talks, Queen Sci-Fi made her choice. "We will not fight again. We will work together for peace and healing." The room slowly relaxed. The humans and Eurutheri leaders began to speak as allies, not enemies. Caro smiled at Marcus. "Thank you for bringing me home. You saved more than my life. You saved our future." Marcus nodded. "We did it together." Outside, news spread quickly. People from both worlds saw the summit's success as a sign of hope. But Marcus knew the real work was just beginning. Peace was not easy. It would take time, trust, and courage. That night, Marcus stood under the stars, thinking about the journey. From the war-torn streets of Earth to the shining towers of the Eurutheri capital, he had seen fear, hate, and hope. He smiled quietly. The war was over. Now, a new story had begun, one of friendship, trust, and a future built by two worlds united. The sun rose over the Eurutheri capital, casting golden light on the shining towers and peaceful gardens. After many years of war and sadness, a new day had come. Queen Sci-Fi stood on her balcony, holding Prince Caro's hand. Both looked toward the horizon, hopeful and ready for the future. Around the city, preparations were underway for a great celebration. Humans and Eurutheri worked side by side, decorating streets with flags and flowers. It was the first time their worlds had come together in joy, not fear. Marcus walked through the busy streets, feeling the excitement all around him. People smiled and greeted each other, sharing stories and laughter. The soldiers who once fought against the aliens now helped build bridges between the two peoples. Marcus stopped near the main square, where a large stage had been set up. There, Queen Sci-Fi stood with Caro and the human leaders. The crowd was full of hope, eager to hear the queen's words. With a strong voice, Queen Sci-Fi spoke. "Today marks the beginning of a new era. Our worlds were once enemies, but now we choose friendship and peace. We will work together to heal the wounds of the past and build a better future. Caro stood beside her, his eyes shining. I am proud to be both Eurutheri and a friend to humans. We will learn from each other and protect our worlds together. The crowd cheered, their voices rising in joy. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. He had helped bring this moment to life. Later, Marcus found Caro in the gardens. The prince was watching the stars begin to shine in the evening sky. Do you miss your home? Marcus asked softly. Caro smiled. This is my home now. But I will never forget where I came from, or what we have learned. Marcus nodded. We will face challenges, but we will face them together. As the night grew darker, the celebration continued with music, dancing, and stories. Humans and Eurutheri shared their cultures and dreams. The past war seemed like a distant memory. Queen Silaris looked around at her people, proud and strong. She whispered to herself, "Hope is the greatest power we have." Marcus stood beside her, feeling the same hope in his heart. He thought about the long journey, from finding the lost prince to bringing peace between two worlds. It had been hard, but worth every step. The stars shone bright above, lighting the path forward. A new dawn had come, not just for the Eurutherian humans, but for all who believed in peace and friendship.